Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Sunshine and Rosie, your new favorite cozy nook where we're going to talk everything from spiritual growth, cultivating a positive mindset, to discussing all the juiciness that this world has to offer. Basically, I want to show you how incredibly fascinating you are as a human and give you all my nuggets so that you can confidently embody your most chaotically beautiful self. So, no matter what shitstorm the world is throwing at you, know that I'll always be that little sunshine in your pocket. God, that's so cheesy. Right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. We're out by the window today, a little change of scenery. But this episode is all about experiencing life and how that is the secret sauce to actually enjoying the life that you get to live. And I think that is one of the biggest issues that we have right now in today's world is that we've forgotten how to experience life. Everything nowadays is routined and autopilot. We could go through our days with our eyes closed. We know exactly what we're doing. And we've forgotten how to stop and just experience it. It's all this optimization, your sleep score, track this, track that, all these metrics to why are we tracking them in the first place? Why do we want good sleep scores? To live a healthy, long life. But a healthy life is not one that lasts longer. A healthy life is one that is full of experiences and one that you get to experience. Because what is the fucking point in living to be 95 or 100 when you spent your whole time not in the moment, not in the present moment? And I don't know about you, but I'm opting for the other option because I want to experience this life to its fullest. And I think, especially me personally, over the last 5 years, but especially in the last year, where I have never been more present in my current life. I've never been more focused on the now, this moment, and seeing how fucking incredible this life is and how grateful I am. Oh God, the sun is shining. Confirmation. I'm getting blinded by disco balls here if you're not watching the video. Um, and that's it. We are constantly told to do more, constantly told to be more, constantly told we need to heal more. We have more information than we've ever had at our fingertips. We have all the information to live the perfect, healthy, incredible life. But information is fuck all if you do not do something with that and experience. Information is just giving you information, but you need to actually physically go out and do the things to create the evidence in your life that it's one that you want to be living. I hope that made sense. I'm not sure if that really made sense. It did in my mind. But yeah, so going back, we have all information. We have so much information. We are constantly absorbing information. And I think that's a huge thing as well, is that we've lost trust in ourselves. We've lost the ability to trust ourselves. We've lost the ability to trust our intuition, to trust our bodies, that we almost can't do anything unless we have all the information we could possibly have to tell us that it's the right thing to do before we just try it out and do it and see how it feels. And that's because it's not your fault. It's because we've been conditioned, and that the majority of us are in our nervous systems are so fucking fried that we don't feel safe. And that's the baseline. As humans, we need to feel safe. That is your body's number one priority, and number one thing is to constantly make sure you are safe. And if you are in a state of fight or flight, freeze, burnt out, me my whole fucking life, like, your system is constantly searching for safety. And so it's constantly on alert. And if I even just go from my own personal experience, I've had incredible experiences in my life. I've been in moments that people would dream of. And even in those moments, I wasn't present because I was constantly worried about how I looked, how I was being perceived. I was observing everything. I was taking in all my senses were clocking at every thing around them, constantly scanning for threats, constantly scanning for safety, constantly scanning, constantly on alert. I was constantly bracing myself and never in the present moment because I was always 10 steps ahead of any possibility that could happen. And so in conversations and in everything, I was never fully present. And that's how the majority of us are in our lives today. We're never in the present moment because we're constantly thinking of the next thing that we have to do. Even in our normal daily routine, it's so autopilot that we can just do it, that we're doing the things, we're doing the washing up, we're doing the tasks, we're doing the things, but our head is already 10 steps ahead because we're worrying about the next things that we have to do. Or we're overanalyzing something that happened in the past. And our system is just constantly overloaded and running and trying to scan, getting more information, more information, more information, all in our heads. We're spending so much time in our heads. This is exhausting me even just thinking about it. And we're not allowing ourselves to be present in the moment and experiencing life. And is that's how you evolve, that's how you grow, that's how you heal. That's how you get to a place where you get to experience and enjoy the life that you're living. And because we've lost such trust in ourselves, we don't trust ourselves to just do the things. We don't firstly carve out the time for us to do the things, to have these experiences. And if we do, we almost have to tell we need somebody to tell us how to experience it. We don't even trust that we have the the inner knowing to move the way you were meant to move the way you want to move. Like even when it comes to the simplest things of yoga classes, Pilates, body movement exercises, whatever it is. And this came to me the other night because I was doing one of my evenings on my yoga mat, altar lit up, listening to music. And I just started moving my body. And this is the body nights that I love to do. And these are, I can't recommend these enough. Um, and it's funny because I during the process of even doing these over the last couple of years, I never really understood or I never just acknowledged how fucking beneficial they have been. Um, but they're incredible. But anyway, I was doing one of these nights where I was just dancing. I was in my apartment, I was listening to music and I was dancing. And I was in between dancing and just moving my body and doing weird shapes with my body and stretching out muscles and just allowing the music to fully move through my body. Picking like the songs that I was listening to were like one of the songs I was listening to had like all these different instruments going on and different beats going on, and I would listen to one beat and move my body in a certain way to that beat, and then I'd move to another beat and move my body in another way, and I was just making weird shapes and taking up space, and it felt so good. It felt so good. And it just made me realize how so many of us would sit on our yoga mats and do a night of movement, but it's like we have to follow a certain sequence. We have to do it in a certain order, that we don't trust our bodies enough to know that they tell you how to move. What movements do you want? We don't trust ourselves to just experience, to come so into the body and allow your intuition to move you and to be present in the moment. And yeah, and that's something I've had that discussion here on this podcast throughout the year, but like I've had so many incredible moments this year where I've been so fucking present and like I feel superhuman. I feel superhuman because just comparing it to where I used to be in similar moments, but never fully in them, always observing, always worried about judgment, always worried about how I was being perceived, always scanning for danger or threat, to then being at a place now where I'm fucking experiencing my life. And all the work, that's not to say all the work that I've done over the last couple of years, fuck me, am I happy that I've done all that work because it's gotten me to a place now where I am fully in my life. I'm fully experiencing my life. I'm able to move through a normal day of just normal everyday stuff and I'm fully experiencing it. I'm noticing the little details. I'm stopping to smell the roses. You know, I'm just fully animated with life. And I realized, and this is where I'm even like pivoting a little bit in my business, because I don't want to be another teacher. I don't want to be another person that's just giving you information, because I could give you all the information that has fucking changed my life over the last however amount of years. And don't get me wrong, I want everybody to know this. I want everybody to know this information. And I think it would be hugely beneficial and will change your life because it's changed my life. But again, we have all the information. We literally have all the information. Pick up your phone and Google it, and you've got the information. Information means fuck all if you aren't doing anything with it. And that's why I want to pivot and change mine to creating experiences. I don't want you to know about it. I want you to feel it. I want you to trust yourself enough to just do the thing and feel it. Because if I look back at the last 5 years, if I look back at the last 10 years of my life, when I started first solo traveling, and even then, I wasn't maybe fully aware of it, but even then, I was putting myself through so many tests. I look back because I'm so fucking proud of myself. Because there was always that little voice in the back of my head that was like, there's more to life than this. And you are capable, even though you might not feel it. You might not feel it, but I fucking know you're capable. That voice, that little voice was always there. And I'm so grateful for that voice now. Um, because even back when I started traveling Canada, when I did my solo travels, that in itself, moving on my own with no major plan, and just knowing that it was going to work out and just allowing, that was it. Like even back then, I really allowed myself to just try and experience life. Um, just going with no plan, just enough of the basics, and just knowing that it was going to work out and that life was going to give me incredible experiences and incredible people. And it did. And I constantly tested myself. I constantly played games with myself. But back then I still had such a negative inner narrative that even though I was testing myself and putting myself in these positions and playing these games with myself, it was coming from this kind of negative energy of like, you better do this or else you're going to disappoint others. You know, I was putting myself in these scenarios and these games, but for other people, for how I was going to be perceived by others. You know, God forbid I traveled all the way to Canada and ended up coming home. How embarrassing. Like that whole narrative of she fucking she thought she was going to go off to Canada and she came running back home. That kind of narrative, that was something like I remember when I first moved to Canada, I just kept telling people I was going. I told everyone in work, I told all my customers, I told everyone because I was like, if I don't go now, I'm going to just disappoint all these and they're going to be like fucking idiot. And so even back then I was playing these games with myself. I was putting myself in these tests I was doing this scary thing traveling on my own, and I would like be like, okay, Ro, you need to go down and talk to people. You need to go down and talk to someone because if you don't talk to someone, you're not going to make friends, and if you don't make friends, you're going to end up going home, and if you go home, you're going to be a fucking embarrassment. And that was the motivation that I used on myself to ultimately put myself in these situations where I had to speak to people and I had to make friends. And each time I did those little games myself and I tested it out in that way, the universe always gave me the most incredible people. The universe always gave me the most incredible experiences. And I remember always being so grateful for them. But again, all these experiences, all these moments were just tarnished with that inner narrative because it was coming from a place of punishment and it was coming from a place of other people. I was living my life for other people. Um, but in saying that, in over the last 8, 10 years, more so in the last 5 years, when I became a little bit more aware of this, and when this was my main focus, was we're healing this relationship with myself. I do not want that fucking inner narrative in my life anymore. We're learning to love that version of me, and that inner narrative, because all that inner narrative is all that little inner critic is not trying to fucking ruin your life. It's actually trying to protect you. And when you learn that, when you understand that, oh my god, you realize how fucking grateful you are for that little voice, because it's just helping you along the way. Anyway, I feel like I could go off on 101 tangents on this episode, so I'm going to try and keep it to experiences. So in the last 5 years, I was constantly playing games with myself, constantly creating these little tasks, because that was the way that I was able to do these things, is if I could make it fun and take the serious pressure off it. And I'm now realizing this is what we all need, and this is where I want to pivot my work and my methodology and all of that. But I would play these games with myself where I would create little scenarios or little challenges and put myself in the situations, put myself in the experiences, make myself experience life. I was at home on my own, doing the inner work, doing the healing, doing the heavy work, but none of that is going to I mean, it's incredible, but you got to fucking take it out into the real world. Because the whole idea of creating safety in your system, the whole idea of being feeling safe in your life, feeling safe enough to be yourself in your life, is you can feel safe in the comfort of your own home. You could feel great being yourself, but you need to put yourself in the real world, in the out there, and still be able to hold that safety in yourself. And so I would play these little games to myself. I used to be somebody who was very nervous about like going into a cafe, going into an establishment, going for dinner on my own, any of these things. And again, I would kind of gaslight myself, being like, Ro, you're not going to enjoy this experience if you're not, you need to go out and just like go places. Like you need to do these things, you know? Um, and so when I used to go into coffee shops, I used to always have to like look up, find the coffee shop on Google Maps first. I needed to make sure that it was a certain size, like that it wasn't too small, that like I could rock up and there'd be no seats, and I'd walk in and be just tiny. That would overwhelm me, and I'd be like, I'd freak out. I need to be big enough that I could kind of like go in there. There's a high possibility of a table being free, and that I could like smooth sailing and get myself in there. Okay, I had all these things, and now I'm now understanding. It makes perfect sense because undiagnosed ADHD, there was so much going on that I wasn't aware of, and I was gaslighting myself when there was no need to gaslight myself, because we won't get into that anyway. So I would set these challenges for myself. So I'd be like, okay, we're going to go into this cafe and we're going to sit down. And my whole thing was, I used to worry about walking into establishments because I used to think everybody would look at me. I would think as soon as I walked through the door, like the music would stop. It would be just like this intense silence, like you see in TV's shows and stuff like that. And like everybody, the chatter would just completely stop and everybody would stare at me. And then there'd be like this like whispering of like, "Who the fuck? Why is she in here? What a loser coming in on her own. Oh my God." And I would think all these judgments that they were all judging me. Um, and that I would sit down and then I would be like, "Oh my God, if I don't order quick enough or if I don't know if I want something here, like the staff are going to be like annoyed at me for like wasting their time." Oh God, my head used to be not in a great place. And the thing is, I know there's a lot of people that are still currently in these sensations. So I would play these games myself where I would put myself in the thing. I would go into the cafe, I would get to my seat, I would sit down. And once I was safe, as in like I was sitting on my seat, I found my place, everything was kind of good, and I got to my place safely, I would stop and I would have this checklist where I would like be like, okay, all the things that I thought were happening, all the things like I thought everybody was going to stare at me. I thought like, people would be talking about me, all this stuff. I would then look up and look around and collect the evidence that all those beliefs that were stopping me from entering the place in the first place, none of them were true. Because I would look around and I would see that, okay, firstly, the majority of this cafe are people on their own. So this is normal. Um, Nobody's looking at me. Nobody even probably fucking noticed I walked in. Um, Seeing that everyone was chatting and stuff, seeing that the staff were smiley and friendly, like I would just clock all this evidence that would just again being in this experience, coming into the present moment, understanding that all those little narratives in my head don't hold any truth because look here in the present moment, none of that exists. And that was me not knowing at the time that I was clocking into my senses and I was bringing myself into the present moment. And I was showing myself that I was safe in the present moment. And this was me 5 years ago before I even went fully down this path, um, where I was already doing this work intentionally. Oh no. Oops. I need to get them stuck up better. But a record just fell off my wall for people that aren't watching. But I would play these games and I put myself in experiences. And that's where all my growth came from. That's where, over the last couple of years, it's been putting myself in situations and showing myself in those moments that I am safe and that I've got me. And they're all the moments. They're going to the coffee shop on your own. They're standing up on stage and doing the big scary thing. They're rocking up at a event or a meeting um with people in the field that you want to be in and presenting yourself. They're going dancing and being on the dance floor and dancing and not worrying about what other people are thinking of you and allowing yourself to just fully be in the moment. These are the experiences. They go from the scary big career move experiences, following your dreams, blah, 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 to allowing yourself to dance freely and shake your ass, to going for a walk and actually being present for the walk, not trying to absorb more information, not trying to tick 10 boxes at once. I'll go for a walk, I'll listen to my playlist, I'll do all my replies, I'll, voice note, blah, 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 blah. No, just fucking go for the walk. Go for the walk. Look up. Take in your surroundings. Walk a little bit slower. It's in the experiences. It's in the little moments of allowing yourself to experience life. That's how we show our systems, our nervous system, our bodies, that we're safe and that we're here and that we want to be here in the present moment. And you get to experience more of life. And so I started out just playing these games with myself, not really understanding the power of them. But that's what got me out and doing the things. When I was in a funk, when I was having a bad mood, when I thought that my life was falling apart and that I couldn't see any way out, I would do my joy bubble walks. And these are walks, I call them joy bubble walks because I would go out and just find the joy bubbles because my inner world was not joyful. And so I would go to public places, I would go to parks, I just walk around the city. I remember doing this in Budapest. I would go to a park and I would sit in a park bench and I would listen to music, and I would always choose music that was like cinematic. Okay. Music that you hear on movies, music that is like that classic like opening scene to a movie, or that movie montage or whatever it was. So it would be these like just fucking incredible music that have so much emotion in them. And I would play songs that would like give that like that like joyful, exciting, the possibilities, that kind of energy. And I would sit in parks and I would imagine that like my point of view is the camera. It's the main camera recording this scene in the movie, you know? It's panning out, it's zooming in, it's doing all these movements. That was my point of view. I was no longer me, Roshan O'Keefe, human form. I was taking in my surroundings as if it was a movie, and the whole thing was I was scanning for joy bubbles. And I had the music so much like sound canceling, so I didn't actually couldn't hear the world around me. I could just allow the music to dictate and control the emotions that I was kind of captivating. Does this all make sense? This is how my brain works. And I would go out and I would sit and I would just find these like beautiful bubbles of joy. Like a little kid. Oh, I remember one time it was around winter because there was a little kids when they're in their like that bull onesie, like puffer suit. And they just look like, oh my God, they're the cutest little things. But they're just fully protected in this little onesie puffer suit. And I remember doing this one day, and it was a little kid, and he was in his puffer suit, and he was chasing a pigeon, and he just looked like he was having the most fun chasing these pigeons, and they were kept flying away, and they'd go somewhere else, and he'd chase them again, and he was just wobbling in this little puffer suit. And I remember captioning that, and I was like, "That's such a little joy bubble." And then I would pan around again and scan again, and I saw a little old couple holding hands. So cute. Or I'd pan around again and I'd see like a group of friends embracing each other because they're meeting up, and I'm just like, oh, so much joy. And I would just scan for all these little bubbles of joy, and it would just confirm and affirm to me that like, oh, what am I worried about? Look at the amount of joy and love that is around me. Always. It's always here. And it gave me so much joy and love to see it in other people, because of course that's what this is. We are mirrors to each other. Um, And that's how I would go out and just collect that evidence and feel again, being in the present moment, seeing in the present moment, noticing all these little joy bubbles that then fill me with joy. And it pulled me out of a little dark patch that I might have been in. And yeah, I didn't realize all this time I've been cultivating and figuring and trying to and creating these little games with myself to bring me back into life in present moments. And obviously over the last couple of years, learning more and more and being able to get deeper and deeper and deeper into unpacking all the shit of mine, on learning a lot of stuff, a lot of beliefs that were holding me down and all of this, and thawing out my system, because being I was numb to life. I was numb to life, and now being in a place and a time in my life now, especially in the last 6 months, in the last 6 months, being so sensitive to life, in the best way possible, like literally being able to be moved to tears all the time from just pure joy and happiness and beauty. Being able to hear my body and listen to the messages it's sending me, and like having that connection of like almost instant messaging. And I'm like, oh my God, there was a time where I wouldn't hear any of that. I would just there was the signal between my body and my mind, and that communication was so non-existent or numb or just not fully working, I guess. But yeah, to be able to see that in the last 6 months of just how sensitive I am to life and how much being present is almost now my autopilot. Like I'm like in every situation, in every scenario throughout my day, I'm constantly like just naturally dropping into the present moment. And it takes me out of that like head noise of like anxiety about the future or worrying about worrying about the past. And like I've also understood that like I'm not like planning so much or having such a rigid structure and a plan that I'm like, no, I just need to focus on my next couple of steps. And then that will give me the answers for the next couple of steps. And trusting that. And I think, yeah, bringing this all back, that's what we need more of. We need to experience more of life. We can't keep doing the work and healing and knowing all our patterns and all of this, but still walking around with like bubble wrap because we actually don't feel safe, or at least we're going out into the world and we're not allowing ourselves to come into the present moment and give our system that signal that we are safe. Because again, that's what it comes back to. It comes back to safety, but it comes back to having to show yourself in the everyday moments, not in the big scary moments, in the everyday moments, in the standing in a line in a shop, instead of feeling the need to whip your phone out and hide behind a screen. Stand up, put your head up, look around, signal, show yourself, show your body that you are safe to be in this line. You are safe to take up space. You are safe to wait. This is another thing, is that we don't think we all realize that like all these tiny actions that we are doing on a daily basis are sending messages to our system. When you are there in a queue and your head is down and you're that shape and that expression to your body is like, we're hiding. We don't feel safe here. And that's like you're showing your system, the message you're sending your nervous system is, yeah, we're not safe here. We're hiding, we're staying small, we're not taking up space. So it's in those small moments where it actually is safe, and it's not going to be a crazy thing to do, to just shoulders back, chest up, phone away. I'm allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to be here. I'm allowed ponder for 5 minutes while I stand in this queue, and showing your system in the moment that you're safe in the everydays. And that's how you carry on. And then that's how you're able to do the bigger things and the scarier things and move mountains. But it's in experiencing life. And so that's why I'm changing my whole methodology and work ethic and everything. Like my social media is like Instagram now. I want to stop giving information, and I want my Instagram page to be a place where I'm guiding you back to feeling alive. I want it to be a place where there's going to be games, where there's going to be moments for you to experience life differently, whether it's in a prompt that I put on there that makes you just move through your day a little bit differently, where it's games that I dare you to do things. I want it to be a place where you come and you don't have to use too much mental energy. It's just about doing the thing. Like, just do the thing. Trust yourself. Trust yourself that you know if it's going to feel good or bad. You know, you don't need somebody to give you all the information. Just do the thing. Allow yourself to wander. Allow yourself to move through the day without having a huge rigid plan. Create that space to be creative, to do the weird thing, to take up space. We just need to do more. We need to, and not, I don't mean, I shouldn't have said that. I mean, do more in the sense of like being present in the doing of the things of living your life. Even the simplest thing as doing the dishes. Like, you can turn that into an experience. You can put on some music. You can put on some colorful gloves and be in the moment. Feel the temperature of the water in your hands. Feel the texture of the plates. Watch as the sudsy plate or the dirty plate becomes clean. Like, that's you experiencing. That's you coming into the moment. That's you turning a 10 minutes of fucking doing the dishes and being in your head and thinking of the next task you have to do to this fun little experiment, this fun little experience. You know? Turn it into a little movie scene. You're doing the dishes. You're singing your heart out and you're wearing your favorite pink gloves. I don't know. But that's what I want my Instagram, my social media to be now, is showing you how you can experience more of life in simple ways. Like, another thing, dinner. Oh my God. If I hear another meals in under 15 minutes, and again, it's all this optimization, it's all this efficiency. It's like, how can we get as much done in our day as efficient as possible? Why are we trying to rush through everything? Why does everything have to be done so quickly? Why can't we allow ourselves to take our time? Why can't we once a week have a dinner that's not a quick thing? And maybe, well, we don't even have to go drastic here. Like, you can just add maybe an extra 5 or 10 minutes to the cooking process, bring it up to a 25-minute cooking process, make it look a little nice on your plate. Maybe pick out your favorite plate, treat yourself to serving yourself on a nice plate. Maybe light a few candles. Maybe put on some background music. Maybe sit down and eat that meal and imagine you are in the south of France. I don't know. But like, you have the ability and you get to do that. Okay, my phone storage just filled, so I'm going to make this ending quick. But yeah, allow yourself to experience the meal. Like, allow yourself to sit back and taste the textures and sensations and all of that. Like, turn it into an experience. Every single moment in your life can be turned into a little experience by just you taking a moment to stop and come into the present moment. And I know that's a lot easier said than done when your system has been in a state of fight or flight or freeze or fawn because you're scanning. But how you do this is training yourself in the everyday moments to come into the present moment. And this is how you get to experience more of life. So I've created a community where this is my new MO. This is the main objective here, is to have more fun, have more experiences, create more joy. It's going to be full of games and nights where we come together and we have our scripting nights or release nights, the body nights that I do myself. I host them now in this community where there's going to be little perspectives and things throughout the week that'll just help you look at your day differently, giving you little prompts to just change your perspective and pivot in a slight way and helping you experience more of life. No more information. We don't need enough information. You can go and find all the information you want. We need to start experiencing life more. And that's what this community is all about. So, ladies, if that feels and sounds like anything that you want, if you want to start participating in your own life and actually feeling life again and coming back in and having more fun and more joy and being around people where you get to share the magic. You want more rituals, more romanticizing your life, all of this. That's what this whole little community is about. I'll leave the link for that below. But yeah, you can turn any moment into an experience. Remember that. And one of the best questions that I love asking myself throughout the day is, how can I be more in my body? At anything that you are doing throughout your day, how can you be more in your body? Because that question alone brings you into the present moment. You're doing the dishes. How can I be more in my body here? Well, I can notice the temperature in my hands. I can notice all of this. You're coming into your body, you're coming into the present moment. You're coming out of your head. That's the magic sauce. That's the key. Anyway, thank you for listening. And go experience life, baby, because it's fucking chef's kiss. Yeah, it's chef's kiss when you are in the present moment in your life, you know? Oh, thanks so much for taking the time to dive into my brain with me. If any of this resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts. DM me, share it with a friend, like, subscribe, leave a review, do all those juicy little things that help me reach more beautiful souls. And remember, you are chaotically beautiful, and that's all you ever need to be. I love you, I'm proud of you, and until next time, keep shining and stay rosy.